I'm here with Dr. Elaine Kingwell from the University of British Columbia. Dr. Kingwell works in Dr. Helen Tremlett's lab as a research associate. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Kingwell, and welcome. Is this your first time participating at ECTRIMS?
No, actually I've been to ECTRIMS for a few years now. This is, I think, my fourth. They're always very busy and very interesting.
And how is your experience so far compared to the ones you've been to in the past?
It's been fairly similar. You have to plan it all in advance to make sure that you don't miss anything that you really want to see. It's bigger every year, so there's more to see and more people to talk to. But certainly just as interesting as it always is. Yeah, it's exciting.
Very nice. Can you explain a little bit about the research you're presenting here at the poster session?
Yeah, the study I'm actually presenting is a follow-up to a study that I've been working on for a few years. That is focused on looking at the risk of cancer in people with MS. So we did a study, the first part of the study, and we published on that, and we found that people with MS actually have a lower risk of cancer. A few other large studies like ours have found the same thing. So this is a follow-up, and because when we found that people had low risk of cancer, we weren't sure why they might have a lower risk, and it's possible they have a different kind of lifestyle, or it might be their immune system that puts them at a lower risk. It's also possible that they're just not being diagnosed as early. This study that I'm presenting is looking actually at death due to cancer in people with MS, to see if actually we see any difference after finding that there's lower incidence of cancer. Does that mean there's also a lower death rate of cancer? And also, if people are being caught later with cancer, does that mean they're having a higher risk of dying of cancer? So the study that I'm presenting at this conference is actually showing, we found quite encouragingly, that actually there's no difference in the risk of cancer deaths for people with MS and there is in the general population. So that's reassuring for people with MS that even if they are being diagnosed a little later, it's not having an impact that's measurable on final outcomes.
So there's no difference in death, but there's that lower risk of developing.
Yeah, and that's being at low risk of being diagnosed with cancer. So that's why it could be explained by being diagnosed a little later. That would come out as looking like you have a lower risk just because you're being diagnosed a year or two later than someone else of the same age who's comparable to you in the general population.
So definitely an interesting area that's sort of different than what we see in the usual MS field, and very interesting, can be explained. So to be continued.
Definitely always to be continued.
Yes, that's right.
There's always more questions that come up.
Exactly. And I mentioned that you are now working as a research associate, and previously you were awarded a fellowship through the society related to that. And what's that transition like from moving from sort of the academic trainee to more of a researcher?
Well, it's interesting. It's a very recent move for me. I've actually only been a research associate for a month.
Okay.
So I was a postdoc, and I've stayed on in the same research group, which has been really nice because it enables me to continue with my studies that I started. A lot of the studies that we do are very long term. I work with very big databases. It takes a long time to get the databases and to do the studies. So to have the opportunity to continue with those same studies, not as a trainee, but more independent within the group, is really exciting and interesting to be able to continue those studies and see them move through and generate more studies. So I guess in response is not a huge difference. I'm not a trainee anymore, but I'm still doing exactly the same work, and, but maybe playing a bit more of an independent role.
Well, thank you very much.